All right, welcome back to
Boring Land.
Yes. Nick here,
Gabe.
and we are very excited to bring to you our review of
Stree.
And you know what Stree means?
Well, you know what? Doesn't it mean it's the name of the entity or the ghost? Which, I mean, we were still a little confused after watching it.
Well, yeah, we won't get into that. I just mean the word. From what I saw, Stree means woman. Okay.
Okay.
I don't think it's a direct translation to woman or the one that's usually used in Hindi.
Right.
But I think it's like a connotation, which means woman.
Okay. Good to know. Yeah, it was recommended to us. We had asked for some different type of genres. We have already reviewed Tumbbad, which is a horror genre. It haven't been right around Halloween time, so one of our other viewers recommended it, and we watched it, and I gotta say, I was thoroughly impressed, but thoroughly confused. What about you?
Yes, so I definitely was. We'll get into that a little bit later. So before we get started, I just want to give a shout out our second patron. Thank you very much, Shani Jadea. That's how I'm going to say it. Thank you so much for being part of the Patreon family. If you want to help out Boring Reviews, there was a comment about how we need to update our background. That's how it's going to get done, ladies and gentlemen, is by more patrons joining up our Patreon page and supporting the Boring Review channel. But let's get into Stree right now. Stree is, like he said, it's a horror-esque film. It's perfect for the Halloween season. We just finished Halloween, but it's still fun to talk about these kind of movies. And this is a movie I thoroughly enjoyed. It's an interesting film to where it is a comedy, almost to some parts slapstick comedy, without being more the physical slapstick, but more the types of jokes.
Right.
And then it's also serious, and these guys are terrified in it. I wouldn't say that I was terrified in it, but it was definitely very, very interesting. And just like Tumbbad, this is a horror type film or thriller that has a story behind it. It's not just trying to scare you. It's not just jump scares. There's an actual story. And the cool thing about this movie is it says at the very beginning, like weirdly based off a true story or something like that.
Right.
I looked that up, and it's based on a Nail Ba urban legend and a myth that many, many people in that area, and not just in that area, but other places of India have also talked about this, about how there was in the 90s a woman that was knocking on doors, calling out men's names, and then those men would die within 24 hours.
Right.
And it was several account after several accounts to the point where they have their actual day now dedicated to this, and they found that if you put "come tomorrow" on the door, then they wouldn't bother you.
Got you.
So I mean, how crazy is that? And the director himself, Amar Kaushik, said that you can believe it or not believe it, but there are people that definitely believe it. So it's whether you want to or not. But basically, it's a real thing, which is really, really interesting.
It's so funny because you're like, maybe here in America, we probably have a harder time. We shouldn't, though, really, because we have our own urban legends and our own urban myths. But for me personally, being born in Puerto Rico, growing up in Dominican Republic, we have our own version in Puerto Rico of the myth, not necessarily like Stree, but it's the chupacabra. You've heard of the chupacabra, and that's a old wives' tale or a myth. And again, there were several people that swore to it that, oh no, it literally translates to goat sucker, but it wasn't just goats. It was all kind of livestock that would turn up dead. And the old adage, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's got to be something to it if enough people are coming forward and saying something about it.
I love the supernatural, but I don't personally believe in it. Do I think that there's a chance that supernatural stuff could happen? Of course. I'm always a believer of possibility, but I mean, for me, it's a small % chance. But let's get into this movie. So we have the main character, Vicky. Vicky Please.
Vicky Please. Vicky Please. I like that. He's like, was it like Vicky Please? And he's like, no, it was more like Vicky Please.
That's
like,
what I said.
That's what I said.
No, you did not. And then I love his friend, Jana. He's like, Vicky
Jana. I like Jana.
All right, well, you have Raj Kumar Rao, who plays Vicky, and he is this all-world talented seamstress, but that's for a girl. Whoever it is for a guy who makes dresses and works on dresses. This guy is out of control. Even his dad, who also owns a business, he says, I just love watching him work. He's just unbelievable. He's so fast. He can get all these orders done. And I thought that was a really cool, unique way of developing a character in a very different way than an easier route. but he can do all that kind of stuff. He's got these two friends, and they're hilarious. When you get those three guys together, I mean, it is just so funny. But then this girl shows up right away, and I'm not sure about you, but she looks like a very American-looking Indian girl.
Yes,
right?
yes. Her. I could have sworn I've seen her something else as well, but she's very, very beautiful. She shows up. The thing is, he actually had saw her the year before at the festival, so he was already enamored by her beauty. But going back to Vicky really quickly, I thought they made him a very layered character, and I say that because. First, he's super talented, like you said, at being a tailor, seamstress, whatever.
There you go, tailor.
And his dad, who owns the business, says, I love to watch him work. But he doesn't like it himself because he keeps saying, I always felt I was meant for more than just sewing dresses. But he's revered for it because he's so good at it. But then at the same time, early on, as he's jogging around the town and you see all the writing on the walls, which then we come to find out it means Stree come back tomorrow.
Yes, that's a weird phrase.
They're all trying to warn him about being out by himself because that's one of the rules. You can't be out by themselves. And what does he say? He says, I'm from the new generation. That's old school thinking.
Yeah,
That's what you guys.
We don't believe in that stuff. It's not going to happen to me.
Exactly. So
kind of like what I was just saying a few minutes ago.
He's separating himself from it. You know what I mean?
It's like you guys are crazy.
He's separating himself from that, not that culture, but from those beliefs. And he doesn't just want to be a tailor, even though he's revered for it, and that's an important part in his community. And he doesn't believe in these old wives' tales and these supernatural tales. We're the new generation, is what he says. So it already adds some layers to him. So I really liked Vicky as a character. But then you were saying, girl appears.
Then the girl shows up, played by Shraddha Kapoor. Her character's name is Unnamed Woman. I was just looking at my phone to make sure. Unnamed Woman. She shows up and she asks Vicky to make her this dress. Because like he said, the big festival is happening once a year for several days. And it's this time of the year. And she wants a dress for the last day of the festival.
Wait.
And she says she needs it right away. He's like, well, I can't do it that fast. And then she just kind of smiles at him. Vicky, please.
He's like, 2 weeks. He's like, Vicky, please.
And so he agrees to do it in some super fast time. And then, this whole thing starts. And he goes off and he's bragging to his friends. And his one friend is just so mad at him. And he's just like, there's no way. Because he's so jealous. He's like, there's no way she likes you or anything like that.
Right.
She's just using you or whatever. And then kind of fast forward a little bit, they have another conversation because she comes back and she's like, have you made my dress? Oh, I totally forgot. Sorry about that. They spend the night together walking around and she's acting really sketchy, right? But he's just so enamored. She gives him this letter. And in the letter, she says, please don't read it until tomorrow when you're all freshened up. And I thought that was kind of weird.
Right.
But it makes sense. After watching it, she wanted him to be all ready to go so he can go out and get all these things for her.
Right.
But in this, had this letter that had like a shopping list, so to speak, for things for when they got back together the next day. And this is one of my funniest parts of the whole movie that I thought, this is one of the funniest parts of the movie that I thought happened was he's bragging to his friends once again.
Right.
So you got Jonna, who's so supportive and so friendly and so nice. And then Bit 2 is the guy who's just like, doesn't really...
He's a hater. We all have friends that are haters.
Oh, man,
right? We all have
he's so
friends
jealous.
And
so Vicky shows them the letter. And in there, they're reading it and they're like, she wants like lizard's tails.
And what was it?
All this weird stuff and hair and whatnot.
A cat's hair, yeah, that's what it was.
And then they get to the very end where it says like love always or something like that. And that's the only thing he wants to brag about. He doesn't care about all the weird stuff. He's just like, did you see that last part?
You see that last part? Me. No, the first part said my dearest, and he was like, oh, she's saying my dearest? She must care for you. It was hilarious. But
that part just cracked me up where he's just so blinded by love. All he sees is, it's like, and that's how it is. That's how it was for me when I was younger and single. And like, if I liked a girl, any small sign, I'm like, yes, there's a chance that she likes me, even though there's a million signs that no, get away from me.
And you do, and you definitely do silly things, idiotic things. I remember going to the sketchy of neighborhoods at, inappropriate hours, to go meet up with a girl. It's like, I probably shouldn't be here, okay? I'm not from this neighborhood. It's after dark. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just dumb stuff you do, but you go in blindly, like you said. Again, man, I tell you what, before that part, because I think, that happened after. The one part about this movie, I don't know about you, but I think that the one big song and dance piece was seamlessly put in the movie, because sometimes it comes at awkward parts in Bollywood movies, but this one was seamless because it was part of their party that they had the night before, and he refuses to believe in Stree. He refuses to believe in this legend. So after being at the party and doing some drinking, he pees on the wall and pees it off, and then Stree comes, but we don't see her at that point. It's just somebody ends up missing from the party.
He messes up the writing that's supposed to protect them.
Right. And so I thought that was cool, though, because that dance scene was super cool, and the music, that song was super cool, but it fit in. It wasn't like it was awkward. You could see that in any type of movie. So I was like, all right, this is super, super cool. The dancer did a really good job.
Did you think the dancer, the belly dancer, to me, I thought looked just like the unnamed woman?
I thought it was the unnamed woman at one point.
I thought it was too, and so I thought, okay, they're just using a way to use the same actress into a different character, but it was a different actress altogether.
Right.
She did a great job with the dancing and everything.
So, not to cut you off, now fast forwarding, like you were saying, she asked him to get all this weird stuff. She starts acting sketchy. Then continue.
Right, so you got that part, and that part, he's got this friend who has his girlfriend come over, right, so they can have some alone time, and you find out that it's not really a friend, it's someone that, anyways, so he's so excited, and then he goes missing, and you got Vicky and everyone else. Vicky realizes what he did. He messed up the sign, "Come Back Tomorrow, Stree." And everyone is freaking out, and he's trying to play it off like, yeah, who messed up the sign? Come on, man.
Yeah, they get mad at him at the party. That's what I wouldn't be admitted to it. I'd be like, yeah, who did that? It wasn't me.
And then once again, his friends sell him out like, weren't you out there at that time? And so they all turn on him, and I honestly felt bad for him because he caused this guy who's probably going to die, disappear, all that kind of stuff. But I was confused the first hour of this movie with the parts where it came with the streaks. They don't give you a lot of information, which is not a bad thing. It's okay as a viewer to learn as you're going. But I was trying to figure out where did this Stree come from. And then they give you some information on the legend about how she was supposed to marry the person she fell in love with. And then he died, and someone killed him, right? And she either got killed or she almost died. And so now this is her way of getting revenge. And anyways, there's just so many avenues to go. So let's just go right into the unnamed woman storyline, because I think that is where we're going to have the most discussion here. So you have Vicky. He realizes eventually that he is destined to protect the city and to, I guess, lack of a better term, fight against Stree. And then you have the unnamed woman that we find out, and she never, and this is, again, unnamed woman, she never tells him her name. She says, I've been hunting down this person for years now. Right. And I have never gotten so close, but you are the protector, so maybe together we can take care of this.
But I think you might have glossed over an important part of it.
Glossed over a lot of parts.
But for a long period of the movie there, his friends were convinced that this unknown woman that they didn't even believe existed at first was Stree. They were convinced because of the list she gave him. And I was convinced, she was Stree. There was even this little... Yeah, exactly. There was this little... dream sequence where he's sitting on the top of the roof where he normally meets her, and she comes, and then she just starts turning into Stree. So then he snaps out of it. It's like, oh, it's not her. But now he starts believing, well, maybe she is Stree. So with the unknown woman, the fact that she's just so mysterious, and she was asking him for all this weird stuff, and then the night that he was with her, that's when his other friend disappeared, Jana. So
that part was awesome. Now he came back all creepy. I mean, he did that creepy thing so well. Right. Because that character is so, lovable and goofy. That was great.
So now we're all believing that the unknown woman is Stree. And if you watch the, which we did the trailer reaction for Stree.
We didn't post it, but we did watch it. We just had a technical issue where we didn't hit the record button.
So I love that technical issue where he didn't hit the record button.
Rookie mistake.
Hey, we're novices. We're novices. But anyway, the trailer for Stree makes it seem like he fell in love with Stree, or he fell in love with this ghost woman. So that's what that's what my impression was. And then you come to find out, no, because she intervenes when he's about to be attacked by Stree. So you see both characters there. Well, she can't possibly be Stree, and she actually saves him. So now she goes into her backstory that someone was taken away from her, and she comes back every 3 years because she's been trying to get revenge and to stop Stree.
Yeah, and this is where the movie definitely shifts from that comedy, lighthearted aspect to, okay, we're going to have to fight this demon lady, this witch. And I liked both elements. That's why this movie works for me. You have the funny part, you have the character building, and that's great. And you have these guys who are literally terrified out of their minds, which they did a great job portraying that. You have this professor guy, right?
Oh, the professor.
What was his name again?
Ruja.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
this guy was hilarious.
He was my favorite character.
What?
Other than
Vicky Please?
Other than Vicky Please, he was my favorite character.
Wow.
This guy was only in a few scenes, but every time he was in the scene, he was so funny, and every time he was there, it's like he you know what? I'm gonna steal this from a commentary I saw. I mean, I'm so much into movies. When I watch movies, I watch them again and again, and then I like to watch the director's commentary. So in Ocean's 11, which is a big American movie here, Ocean's 11, it's Brad Pitt. It's a huge cast, a huge ensemble. Really, Julia Roberts. There's a lot of people. So anyway, the director's commentary, it was Brad Pitt, George Clooney, and Matt Damon, and they're all talking about the movie. And then the first time that Don Cheadle comes in, Brad Pitt goes, "Oh, the scene stealer." Every time I'm in a scene with this guy, it's like I'm not even there. He overshadows everybody, and I feel like that's what this guy was. Exactly. It's like he's a scene stealer. When he was on camera, I didn't care about anybody else. I didn't care about Vicky or anybody else because he was so funny. My favorite line of the whole movie, he was like, "How do you know these things?" "I know all things. I have a triple PhD. I have a double MD. I have this and that."
He literally says, "I know everything."
It was so funny. That was my favorite. He said, I know everything. I have a triple PhD. I have a double MB. And he was just naming off all his degrees. It was hilarious, man. But he's awesome. Shout out to Rudra.
I mean, they did a good, nice stew in this movie of all these different elements. So let's get to the unnamed woman, because this is where a lot of the discussion is going to come from, because she's so mysterious. So as the movie goes on, again, we believe, okay, she's not Stree, obviously. She's helping them. She was there at the same time. They're training. They're fighting. They have their plan for how they're going to trap Stree. And so they go through the whole thing. Vicky's on board. He goes through this whole identity crisis where he realizes that, he may be adopted and all these crazy things. And they get to the point where it's the end of the movie. So this is a huge spoiler right here. But they get to the end of the movie. They got Stree. They're chasing after her. They're fighting back and forth. And the unnamed woman says we have to cut off her braid, her hair braid.
Right.
We cut off her hair braid. Then we can stab her with the weapon.
The dagger. It was a dagger. Of
yeah.
some sort.
Like, that's in so many movies, right? We can stab her with the weapon, and then she'll be gone. And so eventually, it's pretty cool how they do it. They get behind her, whatever, and they cut that braid, and they stab her. And the unnamed woman says, "No, Vicky, don't pick it up. What are you thinking? Don't pick it up. Just leave it there." And so he's like, "Okay." And so they're walking away. And then you have the end of the movie. So she picks up the braid, and she puts it in her bag or something like that. She talks about how she has to leave.
Whoa, wait a minute. First of all, we don't see her pick up the braid. We just see her tell Vicky, drop it. Throw it away. I never saw it. Maybe I must have missed it. But we never actually see her.
Because she's in the bus and she pulls it out of her bag.
Yeah, but that's like where your mind fills in the gaps. She doesn't pick it up. And then what happens is everybody walks out, and this kind of like stood with me. But then I'm like, okay, well, wasn't she supposed to be there avenging someone who she also lost? Because she says, "I lost someone too." So all the men start coming out of the temple after Stree's defeated, after they cut her hair. But then she's still walking with Vicky and the other guys. Wouldn't her betrothed, the person she lost, also had come out? You're assuming it's a man because Stree only takes men. No, but nobody came out.
No, nobody came out. The ones that came out were the ones that she took. It was part of her curse. Her man, Stree's man, was killed by someone else.
No, but I'm not talking about Stree's man. I'm talking about the unknown woman. Remember, at this point, we're assuming she's not Stree. So, and she even told them, "Yeah, I've lost someone too." That's what she's saying to them. I've lost someone too. So I was expecting.
Let's get into that.
See her long lost.
Okay, so let's get into that. So let me just finish real quick. We'll get into that. So she's on the bus. She takes out the hair braid, and then she puts it on her hair, and then she becomes witch-like. And there's so many assumptions you can make. We assume she becomes a new Stree or this or that, and I'm just like, what is going on? So I was watching that last part with my wife, Jody, and so we were looking it up afterwards, and there's all these theories that are all pretty much in agreement to one theory, where she herself was obviously a witch. There's a theory out there that she was a witch, and she had something to do with the Stree witch. The Stree witch was able to cut off her hair and take over the mantle of being the witch, and she's been trying to get that ever since. We have no idea with her lost love what that story is, if it had to do with this witch or a previous reason why she first became a witch. We have no idea how long she's been around. There is a second one that they're making right now. Hopefully it'll give more of that information. But basically, she now is the new Stree. She now has, in my opinion, from what these theories, and I agree with them, that she has gotten magical powers back. Okay. She's finally become a witch. She's been trying forever to get those powers back, to get that power that maybe Stree stole from her. And maybe she was the witch. Maybe she was the one that killed Stree's husband, and Stree was able to get the better of her, and she just couldn't believe that some mortal was able to do that, and so she got it back. You see at the end of the movie, the next year, that Stree, unnamed woman, right? She goes right to the gates, and she sees the statue in honor and respect. Please protect us. Right. Stree, please protect us. And you don't see her go any further. So, again, what is her motivation? I'm not sure. Was it just to get those powers back so that because she loved being a witch and she can do certain things? Is she still mad at someone in that town that may have killed her husband, or her love lost, whatever, that wasn't Stree? Those things I'm not sure about. I'm sure that the comment sections are filling up as we speak right now, as they're watching, to say, oh, you missed this, you missed that. But the biggest thing was that she had her own intention. She was not in love with Vicky. She was using him. I think she eventually respected him. Right. But I don't think she ever loved him. And again, this movie is so crazy because it's got all these different elements. Is it a comedy? Is it a horror? Is it this whole story of this witch character? It's everything combined, and I enjoyed all of it.
You know, that's a very interesting theory, interpretation. I didn't do the research on it. My interpretation was that she was actually Stree the whole time, and that was my interpretation, because if you really think about it, and that's where I started putting it together, why didn't whoever she lost come out of the temple when she didn't come out? Remember when all the other guys came out, you know what I mean? All the loved ones, it was more than just 20 men, because they say that one night that, Jada went and erased all the markings from the door. It was 20 men. There was way more than 20 men that came out of that temple. So the assumption is that all the men, all that Stree has gotten over the years were able to come out. Well, why didn't the guy that she supposedly lost? Second, she says, which was the very first time when they're still trying to, in the beginning, trick you into thinking she is Stree, whether she is or not. Again, it's still open to her interpretation. He goes, well, how do I get a hold of you? How do I, what's your mobile number? And she goes, I don't have a mobile. In this day and age, what woman doesn't have a mobile? Let's be real. What kid? My fourth graders all have cell phones.
That's what I'm saying. She was a witch before she lost her powers.
I can see that, but I'm just saying, yeah. So she was a witch. I just thought she was Stree, and the reason I'm saying she was Stree is because at the end, when she gets on the bus and she puts the hair back on and she disappears and she's Stree, then when she comes back to the town, I think the one thing that this movie does to also add some social commentary on there is that because she was treated or mistreated before and wasn't respected, what she wanted to be was respected and shown love. That's why she was attacking these guys, because that's what the author of the book said was missing in those 20 pages or whatnot. So they also added some social commentary in there where, all the woman wants is respect and all the woman wants is love, not, to be someone's life. What did that author say? He said, her role was just to cook, clean, bear children. Yeah. So, again, there was social commentary there. I'm not sure. This was an M. Night Shyamalan type thing, man. Because how many twists were in this movie?
But with the theory of her being Stree, to me, that doesn't hold any water, because why would she help these guys to attack herself? How would she cut off her own hair or help her hair to get cut off just so she can put it back? What was the end game there? Was it would make sense if she was trapped there and she was trying to leave that town so she could haunt another place, and that was the only way. But to me, that doesn't really work. I feel like there was two different witches. She was one, Stree was the other, and she had lost her powers. I believe maybe Stree had took the powers from her, and so she wanted it back because she loved being a witch, and she had that taste of power. I don't know. I'm sure I'm missing something with the theories that are out there, because there's quite a few of them, but these Indian films like this one, Andadun, even Tumbbad, there's so much more there than just what's on the screen, right, that it's crazy.
Makes you
think. There's so much more that we're not realizing when we watch it the first time.
I like I said, I compare it almost to an M. Night Shyamalan movie, or even who's the director of Get Out? That's
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele, where you think the movie's one thing, but really it's saying another thing. So you got to rewatch these movies, and there's a lot of nuances and clues that you have to pick up. This movie definitely deserves a rewatching. One of my only complaints about this movie was, and you kind of mentioned it, you were lost. Did those subtitles not go super, super fast? I don't know if it was because they were in a different region of India where they might speak a lot faster. Like, if you're here in the United States, people from the East Coast, like myself, we speak really, really fast, where people from the West Coast have a more slow and laid-back demeanor. Same thing with Southern people. You can always tell the dialects. This thing was... It took me probably an extra 30, 45 minutes and just rewinding. Wait, I missed that to try to watch.
I was going to say, the way you talk, you would have to have a paragraph every second to be able to keep up. So what are you talking about? He had that one scene where he was all nervous around her and she's like, is there something wrong with you? And then he spits off a whole bunch of facts to say that, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just a little nervous. I mean, sometimes you're going to have that. I mean, that's just the way it is. I personally have gotten used to the subtitles more and more. There are some times where maybe I miss a few sentences and I'm just hoping... Please don't let that be important. Sometimes I'll rewind it, but I mean, it definitely does go fast. But as far as the grade goes, I am going to give Stree a solid...
Here it goes. Survey says.
I'm going to give it an A-. An A-. And the reason why is I love the comedy. I love the characters. I was a little confused, and that's not really the movie's fault for me not being as intelligent. But there was some parts in the middle that were just a little slow. Like you said, when it got to the musical number and the party and all that, that's where it kind of picked up a lot for me. There was areas, it was going through this whole mysterious route. And so there were some parts where they gave us more information than we needed just to throw us off later. And I would have rather just continued going with the mysterious route and give us a less of the exposition at the beginning and just move forward. But an A-, still a very strong score. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I definitely will watch this again next Halloween. I enjoyed it.
You know what? I think that this is where we differ a little bit on this movie. I loved it a little bit more than you did. I'm going to give this movie an A, and I'll tell you why. Because horror, in and of itself, I've mentioned this before. I mentioned this with Tumbbad. It's not scary anymore. You have to do something different in order to keep me engaged and make me want to rewatch a movie because... You know, we're older. It's hard to really get us scared. So this horror comedy, specifically the way they did this movie, where much like M. Night Shyamalan's movie, it has the twist. I love the twist. We're still here arguing about whether she was Stree or not. Whether, that's what these movies need. You have to give it that different level, and I think that's what this movie did. I'm excited. You said there was a part 2. I am definitely going to watch a part 2 as soon as it comes out. Hopefully it comes out in the movie theaters here so we can watch it. On a big screen, but that's what these kind of movies need. If you're going to be in a horror genre, you got to give us more than your slasher or your regular ghost. You got to give us something to make us think about and keep the audience thinking, okay, well, what's happening now? What's happening now? And again, because of the twist, because of the fact that we still don't know whether she was Stree or not, the way they played with that, I loved it. I'm going to give it an A.
Sounds good. So we got A- and an A there. Very good scores for Stree. Thanks once again for recommending this film. Vicky, please.
Please.
If you haven't done so already, go and give us a thumbs up and go and subscribe if you like our content. We have many more videos you can check out. We're super excited for Star Wars coming up, but we are even more excited right now for these Indian films that we're checking out. And until next time,
we know all things.
Vicky, please.